Welcome to the Sailor Noob podcast, where a superfan and a noob talk about the original Sailor Moon episode by episode. I'm your host, Mikan Hana, joined by my co-host.
I'm the co-host, Caliban the Noob, and I'm a bad boy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I guess we'll unpack that.
I need detention.
You need discipline?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I came into class late.
Yes.
In my leather jacket.
Right.
You hear a motorcycle pull up.
Uh-huh.
Right? Mm-hmm. And that's me coming. I didn't think you got where I was going. But anyway.
I get it now.
I'm going to class late.
Yeah. And we're a couple of magical people ready to moon crystal power make up this episode. Sailor Noob is brought to you by a lovelorn sensei.
Certainly is.
Yeah. The entire events of this episode that we're about to talk about is largely due to Haruna Sensei.
To adult irresponsibility.
Yeah. I don't think that this would have happened if Haruna Sensei was not upset about her love situation.
Haruna Sensei going to be on the unemployment line.
Yeah. So today we are talking about episode number 57. Hokago ni go yojin. Nerawareta Usagi in Japanese. After school trouble. Usagi is a target. The English translation and the English title, Detention Doldrums.
Okay. Another word for blues.
Yes.
But we'll just
somebody
pass on
looked
that.
up synonyms. So
somebody,
like, wait a minute. Too many blues here. Let's put in
somebody had
doldrums.
their eye on the unemployment line. It
Yeah,
was like,
right.
Oh boy, get me a thesaurus.
Yeah, exactly. Look what I got. This is gonna be our best friend.
I'm not a bad boy. I never
You're
had
really
you ever
not.
had detention?
No.
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
You're really not.
I never had detention either.
No. So let's see here. I was pretty good kid. I got in trouble a lot in elementary school for talking during class. So I remember a number of times where I got separated from my friends. Like I got their, new seating assignment. Oh, I got sat next to my friend. This is fantastic.
Right.
I don't need to pay attention to history.
Why does my friend have a last name that's one letter down the alphabet from me?
And then, the teacher would get upset. There'd be a couple of warnings, and then we would get moved.
Yeah. All seating assignments are non-permanent for the first week or two of class, and then you really figure out
where you can
everything
sit people.
shakes out after
yeah,
that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was never like a bad kid. And the reason that like most kids got detention, I think, in my experience was, cutting class. I never cut class.
I never did either. I was such a goody two-shoe.
And they took, I'm sure all schools do this, but they took, fastidious attendance. So
yes,
if you just, I don't know why. I guess this is I'm revealing that I'm not a bad boy. I don't know why you would cut class. It's fun. School is fun. Learning's fun. But whatever it is you got going on, or you just don't feel like English or whatever,
you don't want to be
class,
there.
And then they're going to catch up to you, and you get detention. So I never got it for that. But I did stuff though. I just did stuff that nobody knew about.
Oh sure.
Yeah. And then another thing is that as a not bad boy who was involved in a lot of like programs and like other things like community work. Yeah. It was easy to get out of class.
Oh, I
because
see.
I was always out of class because we would go off campus and do things. And, I taught like community classes for third and fourth graders about called Alcohol Decisions was what it was called.
Oh my goodness.
And it's like it was like a 5 week course where we talked about, peer pressure and, role playing with kids to get over peer pressure. And of course, I think everybody else that I taught with, we're all going out to the parties on the weekends and getting hammered, and I wasn't doing that. So
was this in college?
No, this is in high school.
This is in high school?
Yeah, college, you don't have to go to class. They don't care if you go to class. They got the money already.
Sure.
Yeah, so so I was always out of class for one reason or another, and then I think it was a positive move. And I think schools definitely need something like this today if they don't have it. But back when I was in school, and I won't say when because I don't want to get sad, they had developed a program of peer counseling too. So a lot of the kids that were already, where I was, smart kids, well-behaved kids, honors student kids, volunteered for like peer-to-peer counseling. So if a kid's feeling, bad, or he's feeling like he's going to bring a gun to school, like I said, we could probably use this now. I don't know if they do this. You could go somewhere.
Okay.
But we abused that. So a lot of times it would be like, I don't feel like this trig final. And he's like, oh boy, I don't feel good. I gotta talk to somebody. There you go. Just
oh my God, this is so funny because I was just talking.
I think the statute of limitations has run out on this, right?
Yeah,
I can confess to this.
I was talking to a mutual friend of ours who was talking about when the alternative radio station was no more and was like all like romantic music,
Where's this going?
One day. And her and another friend were so upset about it that they decided they didn't feel like going to class. So they decided they were going to go talk to the school counselor because they were depressed.
That's legit.
Yeah.
That's a legit move.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So I liked going to class, but if I didn't want to go to class, I mean, it was easy to get out of class.
Yeah. The other biggest...
That's privilege, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is privilege. Yeah. You're right.
I should have spread that privilege to kids to the kids without the privilege.
Right. Who are less fortunate.
Hey, Metallica dude. Let me show you how you can get out of that trig final if you want.
Right.
Come with me.
Exactly.
We're going to talk to some third and fourth graders.
The other biggest thing that I got in trouble about was in junior high. Do you know the Sanrio character Keropi, the little frog?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. So he's one of Hello Kitty's friends. Anyways, I had a little box, a Keropi box, and inside there were a bunch of little, I'll just call them Keropi, like items like pens and like cute little erasers and stuff like that, little tiny papers you could write notes on.
Yeah.
And I brought it with me everywhere. And in history class, for whatever reason, the other students that were sitting around me, I had it with me, and everybody was like looking at my box and interested in my box and talking to me, and I was distracting the entire class. And so the teacher took it away, and I had to promise that I would never bring it to class again. So
yeah.
I always had to stop at my locker and put it away. Anyways.
You get they just took it away from me.
Yeah.
You got to keep it. Just I don't want to see that frog
exactly.
in here ever again.
Exactly. Get that frog out of here.
Not welcome. Yeah. Well, before we get started today, we should probably talk about our new patron.
Yes, let's do it.
We've got a new patron on the Sailor Noob patron at the Inner Senshi level. It's a girl named Alicia, who I think we follow her, and she follows us on Instagram, right? Yeah, I think I've seen some of her stuff before. Yeah. So welcome aboard, Alicia. I was thinking the other day after she signed up, I went to her Instagram and I was like, oh yeah, okay, I know this person. And it's like, wait a minute. It looks so warm where she is. Is she in the Southern Hemisphere? And then I was trying to
skills to work.
It's not even. I mean, this is how little I know about Instagram, but I think it just shows like where you're from if you put that in, right? So
maybe.
Yeah, she's from a town near Melbourne. I shouldn't dox her, so that's as far as we'll go as far as where she is, Australia. But I was looking at it and I was like, and then usually like I'm pretty good at, this is one of the weird skills I have, but I'm pretty good at like identifying foliage. So I was looking at.
That is so bizarre.
She's got a picture, and then I was looking at the tree or the grass or whatever, and I was like, what is this? I don't know what this is. Oh, this is Australia. Duh. It's hot. They're upside down.
Yes.
It's hot there.
Anyways, thanks so much, Alicia, for joining the team. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. And if you, don't be embarrassed about this, but not exactly sure that she 100% knew how Patreon worked or what it was when we talked about it on the show. So I'll just say for anybody who's listening, patron, being a patron,
yeah,
I'm going to get this.
It's confusing.
I don't know how it
is
works,
confusing.
But patreon.com is a crowdfunding and support site,
yes,
for podcast artists and people who create things. And so if you want to support the show, you can go to Patreon.
Yes.
And become a patron. It's patreon.com/Sailor Noob. And when you go there, you can find our page. There's a little more information there. I hope that makes it clear. And then you can sign up. at 1 to 2 levels, and we
Yes.
provide extra content. We provide outtakes from the shows that we record here on the channel. We also have an entirely different podcast
That's right.
called Animatification, where we watch other anime shows.
Yes.
And ones that we've never seen before, and generally. And
Generally, most of the time.
yeah, we talk about... it's kind of a similar thing. On this show, we talk about, Japanese culture and also Sailor Moon, but it's kind of evolved into a show where we talk about like anime tropes.
Yes.
Specifically like the pilot, like what you see.
Yes.
How do you do an anime pilot? Because we're watching a lot of first episodes of things.
How do you hook people and
we're
reel
starting
them
to see
in?
different patterns and
Yes.
stuff. And so, yeah, it's the kind of thing that I would listen to if I wasn't on. So
Yeah.
I hope people like that. But yeah, just go to patreon.com/Sailor Noob, become a patron today.
I think that was awesome.
At a certain level of patrons, I'll have to take a test or something. If we get 10 patrons, I'll have to take a test, or I'll have to write a tongue twister where I get the proper uses of Patreon and
patron, right? Okay, that sounds challenging.
Better start prepping now.
Well, maybe you will have time after you give us a synopsis.
I don't know if I will. I'm going to do my best. I don't want this to be too long, but there are complicated things happening in this episode.
Yeah.
And we draw in characters who normally would not be explored, I think, this far. That's something that we're getting just with our villains this season, because it's, sure, we, hung around in the Dark Kingdom and they all bitched at each other, but like...
Right. That's mostly what it was.
There's a development to OLLLLD and An,
yes.
masquerading as humans, but then sort of developing human feelings and characteristics, and that sort of continues today on this episode.
It definitely does.
Which I should probably start talking about. We open with a Moon Princess halation already in progress?
Question mark?
We just open right on it. And don't think that they're not going to use it again at the end of the episode. This is... This is like double dipping to the extreme.
Yes.
But Sailor Moon at Luna's command gives us a Moon Princess escalation, and the cardigan in question is no more, which we don't even see. And OLLLLD and An curse the Sailor Scouts and disappear. And I had to rewind it like, did I do something wrong here? Is there an error on the disc? What is this?
Yeah.
Show, I promise I'll never complain about taking too long to get to the fight again.
They just
as always happens,
attention? Okay.
As if they were listening to my plaintive cries. They literally toast a cardigan at the beginning of the episode.
Yes.
So a new dawn rises as this monster is vanquished. Teaser over. But it turns out that fighting a monster in the morning means you're going to be late for school.
Apparently.
So Mako, Usagi, and Ami are all running to Juban Jr. as fast as they can. The bell is ringing. They get to class. Usagi careens into the room, knocks over a cabinet as she arrives. She's convinced that she's going to get the 3rd degree from Miss Haruna, but as it turns out, no. She was just in time.
Yeah.
Everything's cool. And Usagi thinks, wow, she's in a good mood today. We cut to the teacher's office, and a colleague tells Miss Haruna she has a phone call. Wow, a public junior high has actual desks for its teachers.
Uh-huh.
That's more than mine did.
Yeah, I think a lot of schools in Japan are set up this way for teachers.
Well, it's nice.
Yeah.
Haruna takes the call, and it's Koichi, her date for the evening. Mm-hmm. And Koichi, depending on how it's written, means one happiness.
Okay.
Apparently.
All right. I mean,
or
itchy means like
the first happiness.
Yeah, sure.
Like that,
yeah.
Or the most happiness. But bad news. Not happy. He has to cancel the date. And she's like, oh, no, that's okay. But she's not happy. No, this is no happiness.
Yeah.
And as we see when she returns to class, Usagi is like, I'm so hungry. And An as Natsumi is like, I need energy. And Miss Haruna says, everybody sit down and shut up. And class continues. And Haruna reads, once upon a time, there was a pretty girl on the moon. She says that in English.
Yes.
She says, okay, Miss Tsukino, now translate that for us. But, Usagi's already started tucking into her lunch.
Yep.
And Haruna's like, oh, hell no. You are staying late after class.
Yes.
Miss Ginga, you translate. And An is like, okay, beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, she does like the pana again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Haruna's like, what? And An's like, well, that's the language of my planet. On, you're giving the game away.
I know.
You're giving it away.
Yeah.
And Haruna says, "Oh, hell, also no. You stay after school, too." And I think we can see where this is going.
Yeah.
On the roof, Ale and An are doing some damage control. An's pretty sure that nobody thought too much about what happened. Ale tells her to be more careful, but he's going to have to do this week's energy steal by himself.
Yes.
Because they have to maintain these identities for some dumb reason.
Good point.
They probably, they wouldn't let On into the sperm bank anyway. Now, see, the joke here is that ever since they went after kids, I've been using younger and younger people each week.
Yes.
I want to make it clear where this was going.
Okay.
But I think I have to stop because unless they start harvesting organs of generation, we're going to have to, we've gone back as far as we can in the human life cycle.
Yeah,
So
yes.
maybe this is the end of this bit right here. Ale has On pick another cardigan, but before she can, Usagi runs onto the roof and she says, "Natsumi, we've got to get to detention before Miss Haruna gives us more homework." And they run off and Usagi's like, she's like, this kid's happy. It's just a happy kid.
I know.
She's going to detention.
I know.
And Ale agrees. He thinks to himself, "Usagi, I'll win your heart." Or harvest it, I guess, depending on where this bit goes. In a park, Minako is explaining to Rei and Mako that Usagi had to stay late, and Ami is at cram school, so Luna and Artemis, they just call it. They call the meeting for today. Forget about it. I guess Tokyo will have to protect itself today. Minako says, "Hey, let's go see a movie." And everybody's down with that, except the cats, who say, no, they have to go straight home. But zip, Minako puts the cats in her duffel bag, and she's like, "We're going to the movie."
I love it.
I like her.
Yeah.
This is practical.
Yeah.
At detention, Haruna is having the girls do some schoolwork, and they can't go home until they answer all the questions. Somebody, maybe the principal, haven't seen this character before, it's an older man, tells her that she has a call, and it's Koichi again. He says, "Date's back on." I don't know about this guy.
I know, right?
And she tells him that she'll meet him right away. She touches up her makeup, you know, the shorthand in cartoons of just powdering one side of your face a whole lot. She's all ready to go.
Pay attention to it that much.
Ready to
go.
go.
I'm just going to continue powdering this side.
Done. I assume that's how it works. We cut back to detention, and Usagi is not making progress on her schoolwork, but, Haruna hasn't come back, so Usagi just looks around and says, "Screw this, I'm headed home. Maybe I can catch Mamoru on the way there." An hears the M word and says, "Miss Tsukino, you still haven't given up on Mamoru?" And Usagi says, "No way! We're linked by the red string of fate." And we see An take a scissors and snip this metaphorical string. And the two of them, they come to loggerheads. And An says, "Let's play a game. Whoever finishes their questions first, the loser gives up Mamoru." And the two get to work.
Yes.
At Juban Odessia, Ale summons Cardigan Amanju, a wicked-looking cardigan who looks like a bunch of different animal themes kind of thrown together.
Yes.
And Ale is thinking big, and he says, "Steal everyone in town's energy." But looking down, he sees Mamoru walking home, and he says, "Wait, steal that guy's energy first. Take it all. Kill him."
Yeah.
But Amanju ignores his orders and just flies off on her own. And in the space room, we see something strange happening to the Doom Tree.
Yeah.
Back in detention, both girls are working feverishly, but An is running out of energy, and she thinks, energy's right here.
I know.
This is 14-year-old energy. It's a little clumsy and a crybaby, but
that's
delicious.
about it.
Yeah. And she transforms into her alien form, and she thinks, "I'll take her energy, then Mamoru will be mine." Across town at Absolutely Pass Cram School. Have we known the name of her cram school before? Absolutely Pass.
This is... I don't want to get into it right now. This is the first time we have seen this name.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're so bad. You're so bad at not giving away that you're not giving something away.
Okay, let me. This is not really giving something away. I can't remember what it was in season 1, but it was a different name, and some fans have posited that this is proof within the show that everything when. At the end of season 1, that everything was reset because she's going to a different cram school now. I mean,
why wouldn't she be going to the same cram school? Except for the fact that an insane Yoma destroyed it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. People are just looking, because there isn't a whole lot of concrete things out there for like what exactly specifically happened.
Okay, we did get to kind of a spoiler eventually. I didn't think they were going to wrap it all up, but it'll surprise you sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ami is studying with the other sad, boring kids. Amanji bursts through the windows like the Kool-Aid Man. He just grabs two kids and goes, drains their energy with a, Aman, and then takes off.
Yeah.
Ami uses her compact computer to call the girls, tell them what happened. The girls are in the movie, and Ray doesn't want to leave, but Luna tells them they have to go. And right before they leave, we see in the movie a close-up of the male romantic lead. And Mina says, "Oh, Alan. Come on."
I know. We're still pining after this
girl.
guy, even though you were like, he's moved on.
You don't need him.
I know.
Forget about
she was
him.
so mature in that episode.
Gotta get her a boyfriend episode. In detention, An is stalking Usagi. She's just about to grab her from behind when Usagi stands up and An falls over her desk.
Yes.
Like, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just exercising. 1, 2, 1, 2. You were going to kill her."
Yeah,
Why
I
do you
know.
have to like... Why does it have to be unknowing? Why does she have to like, "Oh, I didn't know I died." Just kill her right there. Anyway.
She's really trying to keep up this facade of her
I cannot
human
remember
persona.
who knows what about who at this point. I could have sworn that the fight in the park filled everybody in on who was a sailor and who was an alien. But I guess it was just a real chaotic scene. Who knows what's coming in and going out.
I think it just did not register because we haven't heard them talk about it.
It's possible that I could learn that my schoolmate was a creep and then immediately be attacked by an alien with his exact build and features. But it's a crazy dystopia, this dystopia. At a park in town, Ale catches up with Amanju and tries to give her orders again, but she just leaps away. She's apparently too wild to be controlled. Mm-hmm. She's reaching Gigi levels of wildness here.
She is.
In detention, here we go again. Anne once again reaches for Usagi, but just then Usagi stretches and the pencil she's holding goes up An's nose. Yeah. And An's like, some days you just can't drain energy. They should arm all the sailors with pencils if this is like their big weakness here. In yet another park, there've been like 4 parks so far in this episode, Haruna and her date Koichi are walking arm in arm. I love that Haruna has just gone AWOL on detention.
She completely
and she's
forgets
like,
about
I think
it.
I'm forgetting something important.
I know.
No, it doesn't matter. At that moment, because of course, Amanju descends upon the park and screams, "Aman!" And hot on her heels, Ale comes down and says, "All right, fine, just drain whoever you want. Get me human energy.
Yes.
Got it. Do you got it? Go." But Amanju leaps into the air and lands in the duck pond and starts draining duck energy left and right. It's awesome. Are these your ducks? Are these your ducks? It's our first Yoma with oppositional defiant disorder.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I see a lot of myself in this Yoma.
Oh my goodness.
And Ale is like, what is this chick's problem?
Yeah.
But he doesn't have time to think about it because the Sailor Scouts minus Sailor Moon are on the scene. They basically say, twice in one day, you leave those birds alone. In the name of Sailor Moon, who's not here, we'll punish you.
Yes.
Ale says, yeah, we'll see about that. Get them, Amanju. Guy, try reverse psychology.
I know.
Because, yeah, guess what? She just jumps on his head and takes off.
It's like the second time she's jumped on his
Ale
head.
vanishes. The ducks are safe.
Yeah.
Back at detention.
Yes.
Usagi is almost done with her questions. Natsumi, not looking so good. She's almost on it. She's on E.
Yeah.
The little lights come on.
Right.
She's almost on energy, but Usagi's feeling pretty good. So she says, I'm feeling gracious. Is there anything I can do to help? Usagi, no, it's too overconfident.
I know.
You gotta crush her. And An knows this. She thinks, yes, I know the earth tale of the tortoise and the hare.
I know.
That's the situation that I'm in.
I know.
She's been reading all those fairy tales.
Well, and then Usagi is the hare in this, the rabbit.
Yes.
The rabbit in the moon.
Yes.
So I see what you're doing, Joe.
And Anne thinks or says, maybe I should get your help. And
Yeah.
Usagi says, well, I mean, first let's set the terms. You can't ask me to give up Mamoru or just do all the work for you. This is like a genie or something. She's going to make a wish on Usagi. And Anne's like, no, not that. Why don't you just hold totally still with your eyes closed for 10 seconds? And Usagi's like, sure. No, Usagi. That's what she wants. Usagi does it, and An transforms and puts her hand on Usagi and says, sleep forever. Mm-hmm. Right then, Amanju kicks the door open, runs screaming through the room, and throws herself out the window. This might be my favorite Yoma.
Really?
Yeah, this is high up there. Usagi watches. It's like, I'll be down. Just watches this crazy lady through the window, and Ale appears behind her, and it's cool. He like shoots a beam out of his head, or maybe it's just like a metaphor, but she shoots a telepathy beam into An's head, and he tells her the whole story. Like, I know, telepathically. Like this crazy Yoma's gone off the reservation. We got to get out of here, and they vanish. The Sailor Scouts have cornered Amanju, and they let fly with their powers, but Amanju dodges a fire soul, and a shoe cream sundae, and a crescent beam shower, but the bubble spray freezing gets her. Mm-hmm. And again, we see the Doom Tree is glowing strangely brighter now, and Aman just busts out of the ice and just runs the sailors down, like they're just bowling pins, they're scattered. And Luna's like, we got to do something, like they're all going to die. And she sees Usagi in the window and runs up to get her. On the roof of the school, Ale and An are trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Mm-hmm. Luna tells Usagi to transform, and she does. Once again, Amanju just bowls all the sailors over. Usagi jumps down, leaps into the fight. She gets ready to attack, but she feels that her strength is gone. And she thinks, did I study too hard? I know. Aman grabs her by the throat, but a white rose cuts her arm and she lets go. Mm-hmm. The Moonlight Knight appears and says, an evil creature belongs in an evil world. Leave this beautiful moonlight at once. Sailor Moon gives us her second MPH, and Amanju is no more. Mm-hmm. Hats off. Hats off to a real one.
Sayonara.
The knight says, even a crescent moon is no match for beautiful soldiers. Adieu, and disappears. Kind of like medium to low rhetoric there.
Yeah.
Take away the words beautiful and moon, and what would he have left this time?
Not
much. Yeah. Anyway, Usagi says, I've got to get back to class. And the other girls are like, wasn't she just drained of energy? I guess she's okay now.
Yeah.
Shrug.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. On the roof, Ale and An are mad, but what can they do?
Right.
And An says she's got to get back to class, and Ale wonders if something strange is happening, or has it already happened? Mm. In detention, Usagi says, Yatta! She's done. But so is An. Mako and Ami show up to take Usagi home, and Usagi and Natsumi decide that it's a draw. Yes. It's a push.
Yeah, right.
And Usagi says, I'll never lose. Bye. And as she goes, An thinks, neither do I. In the space room, we see the Makai tree engulfed in purple light, and we hear an almost inhuman growling sound. Dona Pinchi Noki no.
Yeah.
What? We don't know what's coming.
No.
What's happening?
I don't know. What do you think is happening? Any guesses?
I don't know.
As to what's going on with the Makai tree?
Trees bear fruit.
Yes. Yes, they
do. And
do.
not that like milky gooey stuff that they had before. Remember, like the first time we see them, he's like, you see, we give the tree energy, and then it's like, boop, and then it, like a pod squeezes out some juice.
Yeah,
and
we don't really see that ever again.
So good.
Well, we haven't seen that since, anyways. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just supposed to make us curious and concerned about what is going on.
Both of those things.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's more of a stay tuned sort of thing.
Well, I guess. I mean, there's a literal stay tuned, like, at the end of the maiden's policy.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is really a maiden's policy. Stay tuned.
Stop it.
There's more to come.
Yeah.
That'll never get old. For me.
I know.
For me, specifically.
I know. You enjoy it so much. I should enjoy it more.
That should be a maiden's policy.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
It's like a PG show.
Yeah, it is.
It's not really like a G show.
No.
Hey Trekkies, I'm Caliban.
And I'm Gooey Fame.
And we're the hosts of the new podcast, Backtrekking. I thought that we were going to say it together.
Oh, Backtrekking. Do you want to do it again?
Just don't worry about it. Every week, we look at the real-life inspirations behind classic Star Trek episodes.
The original series, Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, and more. And we're examining the actual events, stories, and concepts that they're based on.
Join us as we go trekking through sci-fi history.
You know, we have a time machine. Let's go back and do the intro again.
Hey, Trekkies, I'm Caliban.
Backtracking.
God damn it.
Before we get into Kero Miru for today, I wanted to give a trigger warning for physical, verbal, and emotional abuse, as well as suicide. We can give a timestamp in the show notes for the start of Itadakimasu with Usagi if you want to just skip ahead to that segment.
Boy.
This gets a little dark.
I'm curiously looking around.
I know. So in this episode, Usagi and Natsumi get detention after school. When I began to look into what detention is like in Japan, I quickly found out that there's not really detention in Japan. Like, you might have to
Sailor
stay...
Moon lied to me?
Well, I mean, you might have to stay after school, but a lot of the time, if you do, it's like on a one-on-one thing with your teacher, you know, and it's not really like detention. It's like you have to think about what you did or what have you, but it's not
like wax their car or something?
No, but it's not like, it's not what we think of as detention. Like this happens, you know, as long as there are students who are getting it, this happens every day or what have you. It's not what we think about as far as that goes.
Okay.
So, and there's just not a lot of information about, I don't think it happens very often. Students also do not get suspended or expelled in Japan. So we are going to take a look at school rules and discipline in Japanese schools. School rules are known as kosoku in Japanese, and some of them are, you know, fairly basic, reasonable, like be on time is pretty standard. And, you know, you get disciplined if you are late to school. However, there are some more extreme yet fairly common kosoku that have drawn a lot of criticism in recent years, as they are not really necessary, and some of which are not really helpful to students and could possibly be harmful in some ways. Not every school has these rules, but they are still very common. So I'm just going to talk about some of the most common ones. You must wear white underwear. The reason for this rule is that some people think that non-white underwear can be visible through white shirts, and that students might get turned on if they see a bra through someone's shirt. I know it seems bizarre, but some schools even check the color of students' bra straps every day when they arrive at school. This underwear check is sometimes done by male teachers. This is a real thing.
They were talking about, like, you know, do your homework and...
This is why, okay, so these particular rules are known as black school rules, and because they a lot of people deem them as not necessary. Like, why are we doing this?
The schools don't call them black school rules.
No, but they're known colloquially as black kosoku.
Huh.
Yeah. You cannot dye your hair. So this is one of the most common rules that you will see throughout different schools in Japan. Most schools in Japan, with perhaps some exceptions, prohibit students from dyeing their hair. Students have been known to dye their hair, their black hair brown, and have told their teachers that that was their natural color. If they get discovered, the student would have to dye their hair back to black. It is important to note, however, that this rule only pertains to dyeing black hair another color. If your hair is not naturally black, your school will either make you dye it black or turn in a, quote, proof of natural hair to the school with a photo showing your hair color as a child. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of Japanese people actually have brown hair, not black hair.
These rules don't apply in J-drama schools.
No, not at all.
A lot of highlights, a lot of bleaches. And,
well, even when I was in Japan in the early 2000s, I swear I saw a lot of kids who were high school age who had bleached hair. So this is not necessarily in every school, but it's still prevalent. And in 2017, an Osaka high school student brought a lawsuit challenge to her school's demands that she dye her naturally brown hair black. This rule also applies to other things having to deal with hair, like perms are not allowed. So if your hair is naturally curly, you have to straighten it.
But you didn't perm it, though. It's just curly.
I know. But it's like it's kind of like everybody has to be the same, sort of, I think, is kind of the underlying thing here. And we're...
Is that why the main character in my Yakuza game has crazy permed hair?
I don't know. I mean, maybe there's this notion that most people who are Japanese do not have curly hair. So maybe it's kind of supposed to be a weird, amusing thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's got like a purple suit and like crazy hair.
He's supposed to be kind of a crazy character,
I guess.
Yeah. Another rule is your skirt cannot be more than X inches above your knees. Most schools have specific lengths that skirts should be at. This reminds me of U.S. schools in the 1960s and 1970s.
Yeah.
But this is still happening in Japan. But it's very common for students to kind of secretly roll their skirt up. And then like a teacher might during class decide that they're going to check skirt lengths. And then you can like unroll your skirt. So that happens a lot. Keep working on
those spelling tests there, kids. I'm going to come around and check your skirts.
No, exactly.
Weird.
You cannot wear stockings or tights to school, even in winter. Some schools require their students to wear socks of a specific length or color, and any other option is not permitted.
It's so weird because there's a lot of schools here in the United States where uniforms persist.
Yes.
But it's almost different. It's almost like we want you to wear a skirt, but also like you have to wear tights. Like we want you to wear tights or something like that.
Yes. It's a strange thing for me to wrap my head around. I don't know why, but it's kind of like, this is what we decided our uniform is going to be like.
Well, yeah, but let me know if I'm cutting to the end of your thing here and we can save it. But like, I don't know either. And it speaks of conformity to me, but also tradition or something.
Okay.
I don't know. Because why would they make them dress like that?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we're 57 episodes in. Like, I understand the reservedness and cultural conformity in Japanese society, but
right.
I guess this is where it comes from.
I mean, well...
Do you think that the superintendents and the people who are making these ridiculous rules are thinking, we're saving Japanese society, here's what we're doing? When we're making the salarymen and the good housewives of the future, and if we just let kids wear parachute pants, it's mass hysteria.
I think that is part of it. I think that there are a lot of teachers and parents who think that strict rules equate to good education, and that this is how
taught to the tune of a hickory stick.
Right.
That means that you're going to get hit by the hickory stick.
I know. And
that's a fun song until you realize that.
Until you realize what it's really talking about.
You don't get that reading and writing arithmetic down.
Yeah.
Here comes the stick.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's weird because a lot of these rules pertain to how you look and like how you have to wear the uniform, right? But there are other rules that are like you can't wear pierced earrings. And then that kind of goes down to like, oh, well, any jewelry. And then like your hair has to be a certain length, and like you can only have black or navy hair binders. And it's like any way that kids can kind of express themselves as an individual is kind of not available to them in school.
Right. Well, I don't think it should be like Valley Girl out there, but there is a certain like, let's reduce certain things so kids aren't more focused on what's going on with their earrings than
that's what they say
studies.
it is. Yeah.
Right. And also, I mean, you can't control this, and maybe it's not the school's job to control this, but you're trying to sort of blunt both sides of the curve in terms of economic disparity. So you don't want the one kid to walk in with the, I don't know what's cool, a shark skin jacket.
I don't know what's
I don't know what's cool.
I don't know.
You know, or like a nice pair of shoes or something.
Right, like a designer bracelet or something.
And then the poor kid's like, well, there you go. You know, do you know what I mean? Like you don't want kids to think about that.
Well, that's true.
Then why do you lock them into these? It should be illegal to sexualize schoolgirls in Japanese media because you lock them into these fetishized costumes.
Yeah.
And only until recently did they not have to wear the diaper bottoms
the
anymore
bruma,
for gym.
Yes.
And it's just like, where do you feed him into the wood chipper?
I know.
Like culturally.
And I don't think that they think of it like that for sure.
No, clearly.
So yeah, school rules are typically taken very seriously by teachers who will, impose the rules.
Yeah.
Students who are recognized by teachers as rule breakers may be subjected to persistent harassment or, quote, guidance for minor non-compliance, like wearing the wrong color socks or having hair touching their ears, which is another rule. Like boys are supposed to have short hair.
Like above the ear?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if girls, like at a certain length, they're supposed to wear their hair up. So, yeah. Many parents think that strict rules are an important part of education, and we've already pretty much said this. Critics say, it stifles individuality and it impairs Japanese education.
Individuality is for outside of school time.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah. You can look at it like that.
I do kind of. I do. I don't think that kids should be, in burlap sacks as they learn, but I do think that, I do think
it's
that
a distraction.
You should try to eliminate all the distractions you can within reason. You weren't turning them into robots, but it's like your Karo-Pipi pencil box. Maybe that's not, if that's a distraction, maybe that's not for the classroom then.
Well, I think that was my teacher's perspective for sure. Strict kosoku were acquired by schools in the 19th century. Administration of these rules subsided in the 1960s, but tightened up again in the early 1980s in response to disobedience among teens.
Okay.
So yeah, there's apparently a lot of rowdiness in the 80s. I don't know what was going on. All that rock and roll and punk music
Teens
and stuff
wild.
like that. Yeah, right, exactly. So teachers enforce kosoku, but do not always discipline students for being disruptive to the class, even though they supposedly have the authority to do so. Something that I kept coming across in my research was the mention of Article 26 in the Japanese Constitution, which states that, quote, no child shall be denied an education. Supposedly, because of this article, teachers are not permitted to send students out of the classroom. However, it is very difficult to find evidence supporting that this is why that is the case. And that being said, students in Japan are typically not dismissed from class for being disruptive. So you could have one kid just being super distracted, like, I don't know, like kicking a trash can or whatever. And like, other students might tell them like to knock it off. But if the teacher doesn't reel them in, and sometimes the teacher doesn't, and sometimes kids fall asleep and the teacher doesn't always say something, and like it's weird.
He needs the rest.
Yeah, it's strange to me because it just seems just counterintuitive to how I would imagine a Japanese classroom to be run.
There's a balance to strike.
Yeah.
Because, if the kid wants to leave class, sometimes that's what the acting out is all about. And if
that's true.
The response every time becomes go to the wherever, principal's office,
right,
what have you, then that's, stimulus response. But also you can't have a disruptive student ruining everybody else's experience.
That I came across too.
Interfering with the lessons.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So
So bucket of water on the head.
Yeah, so that got me to thinking, what about Usagi standing out in the hall with buckets of water? So apparently until the 1970s, this was a common punishment utilized by Japanese school teachers for disruptive behavior or tardiness. The students, almost always a boy, would have to stand in the hallway holding 2 buckets filled with water. And remember, since Japanese students clean the schools, buckets are something that every classroom would have.
They got buckets of buckets.
Yeah, exactly. So this experience would be more humiliating if the student, due to the sheer weight of the buckets and holding them for the amount of time that they have been holding them, had to put the buckets down on the floor. So it's kind of like, you can't hold the weight, you're not strong. You know?
Are Japanese kids really worried about, I'm too weak to hold a bucket?
I don't know. But you don't want to be humiliated in school. I think that's kind of the sort of thing. It's a shame humiliation thing, I think, is the idea.
Is that the deterrent? Because they already acted out in class and are being sent off or laden with buckets. Isn't that humiliating?
The buckets is humiliating.
Wouldn't not wanting to be humiliated be a motivation for you to not act out?
Yes, but the buckets are humiliating. If you have to put them on the floor, it's even more humiliating.
It's only boys that do the buckets?
I think
the girls they'd fill with perfume, obviously.
Stop. I think that typically it was mostly boys being disruptive in class, but I don't know.
And girls just not raising their hand and getting lower scores in math.
Or maybe I should say, I think it was typically boys who received this punishment. Let me put it that way.
Sure.
But this punishment could be seen as is something that is used as a visual joke in current day anime and manga for a student getting in trouble. So it is seen similarly to a student wearing a dunce cap or, that sort of thing. So
now we explain what a dunce cap is.
Do we have to?
Well, I think we probably do.
Why don't you take that one?
No, I look it up. I'm not going to do all the work for the audience, but I'm just saying clearly the bucket of water, which, as you're saying, isn't used anymore, is from, a particular manga artist who was in grade school in the 70s. Mm-hmm. That's what they would use, a person of that age. Yep. And I'm just saying the dunce cap was a signifier that there haven't been dunce caps in 60 years.
Yeah, I know.
So that's why I'm saying people would have to look it up.
Yeah, no, you're right. So corporal punishment is called taibatsu in Japanese, which literally means, quote, punishment of the body.
Oh my God. Dunce caps, buckets on your head.
Yeah.
I think we probably need to just remind people what corporal punishment is, because I assume that it's generally, it's a thing of the past, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
It's just spanking your kids, or it's using physical punishment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Corp means body. It's punishing the body.
Yeah. So it's like spanking, or even like somebody like hitting your hand with a ruler could be considered corporal punishment.
Speaking for Americans, it's just, all your friends that have kids, they don't hit their kids.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Although the use of taibatsu has been outlawed in schools since 1947, so shortly after the end of World War II, it is still frequently found in schools in the 2010s and today, and it is especially pervasive in school sports clubs. Taibutsu is commonly found in professional sports as well. Some of the most documented incidents are in martial arts and baseball in Japan.
So I was just assembling an example where I'm like, oh, sorry, Mark McGuire, you didn't get all the home runs you're supposed to get. Mm-hmm. Bend over. Mm-hmm. But then, like you said, baseball. Yeah. Martial arts makes sense. I took martial arts when I was young.
Yeah.
Senseis beat the crap out of us.
I know.
But it's martial arts. Like, I'm literally learning to beat the crap and also get the crap beaten out of me. So I'm not saying it's good. It just makes sense. But baseball?
Yeah.
Good hustle out there. Not you. Bend over.
I can't remember his name, but there's this guy who is this professional coach, and he worked his players like really hard and was like physically grueling and like would hit them, and they were a winning team. So it was
hit where?
I don't like
bend over.
I don't know if it was like, I don't think it was like getting hit in the butt with a baseball bat. But
okay, but what you were describing to me, it seemed formal. Like there was a ritual, there was something formal about it. So it's like, you've got too many errors, you get 10 lashes or something like that. If you're just talking about like the coach being mad and like, you know, smacking you on the head with his hat or something like that.
No.
I've had that in chess club.
It's more than
everywhere.
It's more than slapping you in the head with a hat. Like it's like a full slap with a hand.
Oh.
You know, what, they shoot you? No.
It's just smack you in the face. Just slap you right down to the ground. It's not really that funny.
It's really not.
No.
This particular coach was he was very vocal about using corporal punishment and that it got good results from his players, and they won a lot of games and were a very successful team for a while. So it was kind of adopted by other coaches.
But they couldn't sit down
sports.
At the banquet.
Okay,
to
yeah.
congratulate them.
Right. It's not funny. So teachers frequently discipline students in front of their peers to set an example, and parents typically approve of taibatsu. I've seen a couple of different surveys, and it's something like currently like 60 to 70% of Japanese people approve of the use of taibatsu.
And all I can imagine is that it's just, that's how I was raised.
That is absolutely
did I take it what
a
you were
lot
gonna
of
say?
it. A lot of Japanese...
I'm listening. I'm in sync with you.
Yeah. A lot of Japanese people have endured taibatsu in one form or another when they were kids, and they say, I went through it. It turned out okay. I turned out okay. It's good. It will help my kid grow up.
It's the same thing, but that's just such a lack of empathy, you know. It's
I'm
the same
sick
thing.
Of hearing stuff like this.
Yeah, it's the same thing with like student loan forgiveness. It's like,
right.
I paid off all my loans, you know. Yeah, that's how I got there. And it's like, yeah, but didn't that
mean
suck?
That's like a good thing.
Yeah, did that hold you back a lot?
Right.
Would you be farther if you didn't have to do that?
Yeah.
Now imagine a new generation.
Right.
Where could they go if they didn't have to deal with that?
We don't have to continue doing things just because that's how it's been done for.
My life was
long
miserable,
time.
so there should be two.
Yes, it seems illogical when you stop to actually think about it. One mother told the Washington Post, quote, if my children get hit by their teachers, it wouldn't make me happy. But if they did something wrong and deserve to be punished,
knock the little
that's
buggers.
okay with me.
Okay.
So
yeah.
There are some extreme examples over the years that have led to serious injury for students, some even causing their death. In the fiscal year of 2013, a record high amount of teachers were punished for the utilization of taibutsu on their students, according to a survey by MEXT. The Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology.
I want a MEXT t-shirt.
We should make that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
With like the Tokyo Tower in the background.
Yeah, why pay somebody else?
The survey said 3,953 teachers were suspended or fired for hitting 8,880 students.
That's 2.2 students per teacher.
Yeah, that's high.
So you got to hit two kids and then just sort of like step on the toe of another one. I'm trying to keep it light.
All right, as much as we can keep this light.
This story of child abuse. I'm trying to keep it up.
I know. In 2017, a teacher was unsatisfied with how a female student corrected an answer during a math lesson. So the teacher grabbed her head and struck her face repeatedly against the chalkboard while instructing her to, quote, look closely at what she had written on the board. The incident wasn't brought to light until over 3 weeks later when the student's parents reached out to the school.
Like, why are my daughter's eyes black and blue?
Yeah. So I guess I also want to say that...
Now, you don't have this information because there are people with rage issues.
Cases.
Yes, yeah. Right. But is that, you don't know, I guess, but is that in a school with a culture of...
I don't know.
Punishment against students.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I do think that a lot of these are, in schools that have a reputation as quote unquote being rough.
Well, they always you see that in anime where they go, "Oh, so and so's from a rough school." Like,
apparently, some schools actually have a reputation for being rough.
like the maximum security of schools.
I don't know. Like, I was reading an article, and there was
from Leavenworth Jr.
Right, and this guy was going to teach in JET. He was going to be a teacher in Japan teaching English, and he got his assignment. And they reached out to him and they're like, it's kind of a tough school, but I think you can handle it.
You have brass knuckles.
Yeah. And like he got there his first day and this one student
Coolio was playing.
Right. This one student, like, I can't remember what he said exactly, but he said this incredibly insulting insult, but it was perfectly in English.
And the teacher was like, that's a start. Yeah. Okay. Second free idea.
Yeah.
Japanese dangerous minds.
There you go. Yeah.
I have to explain what dangerous minds is.
I know.
We need a sub podcast for the references in the podcast.
because we reference stuff.
Annotation.
That's old.
Yeah.
So yeah, but there is kind of this culture of like, the teacher is the authority, and the school sometimes sides with the teacher. They don't want a big, they don't want a big deal. They don't want this going in the news. They don't, it's bad for them. So there's a lot of shame wrapped up in this. So sometimes students don't tell their parents if something happens, or another authority figure.
Well, when they go home, what happens at home? Have we talked about punishment in families?
We have not.
Let's put that one. We'll kick that can way down the road.
I mean, there have been incidents of taibatsu in families as well.
All right.
Yeah, I'll just put it at that.
Village is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just hang in.
The use of taibatsu has also resulted in student death. Between 1985 to 1987, that's 2 years, 5 deaths from taibatsu were reported. After a student's death in 1988, the education ministry recommended schools ease their rules. I'm not exactly sure how to interpret that.
Was it just a 2-year study, or did they do the study and they're like, stop the study. We're recording tests.
This was hard to research for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, I can imagine.
For one, you have to keep in mind these are extreme cases, but also this is what's reported.
Yeah.
And also, one reason why I think this continues to persist is that there is not really a clear outline as to what is too much. So maybe just don't do it as far as taibatsu is concerned, is what I'm thinking. So sometimes teachers think that they're maybe within their rights, but I think maybe there should just not be taibatsu in school, and just maybe don't do it at all.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
In 1995, a 16-year-old girl died from brain injuries that were the result of her homeroom teacher slamming her head first into a stone pillar because her skirt was too short.
Well, I don't have a thing for that.
Nope, it's not fun.
No.
In 2012, the 17-year-old captain of the Sakura Nomiya High School basketball team in Osaka committed suicide after being slapped 30 to 40 times by his coach during practice the previous day. And he had endured a lot of other abuse from that coach. So what can be done? How can this change? In 2019, former Prime Minister Abe's cabinet had proposed a complete ban on corporal punishment, or taibatsu. While corporal punishment would then be illegal, there would be no clear-cut penalty for violating the ban, which is mostly meant to decrease the utilization of using it as quote-unquote discipline as a cover-up for abuse. Yeah. And I think this is part of the cultural piece here, is I think that a lot of people in Japan associate taibatsu with discipline, and I am correcting a behavior, and they do not equate it with abuse.
Yeah. And it would be hard to, I mean, we talked on a previous episode about how organizations kind of accept responsibility
right
for things, that go wrong or whatever. And so I don't know if they would, I don't know if the solution would be that they do put some kind of thing like, well, the teacher is suspended if they violate something, or if, they're just basing it on like the organization being like, well, we want to avoid having to apologize for something or or resign or something like that. And so just don't do it.
Right.
But it's like, I guess you guys, that's the way you do stuff. But it just seems like if there was a specific sort of thing, like if you do this, this is going to happen.
And I think that's the key. I think specificity is the key.
Especially when you're not just making cars or whatever. Like you are a teacher who ostensibly is going to be there for years and years and years. And so many kids are going to come through your classroom and be abused by you if that's your style. So, it's the future of the country that we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, next. Come on.
I know. So in 2020, this act went into law and it officially went into effect in April of last year. However, this act, the verbiage in this act seems to be more directly directed towards the ban of taibutsu by parents than that by teachers and coaches.
Oh boy.
and the reason of that is because there were a couple of
100% failure. That's a complete failure.
There were
now the parents are like coming to school and going like, my kid's being a real a-hole. Can you
wow.
a little bit?
Wow.
Can you take care of this?
Yeah. There were a couple of deaths of young children due to taibutsu by parents.
Yeah, but that's like a criminal matter.
I know.
I'm talking about the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology.
I know.
Next, which does not have any merch as far as I can tell. They have a logo, no merch.
Oh.
I think we're clear. I think we're clear to go. Yep.
I want a tote bag, a Mex tote bag. So in order for taibutsu to not be used anymore, there has to be stronger, clearer laws passed against its use, as well as a cultural shift away from the thought that taibutsu is discipline and instead recognizing it as abuse.
For sure. Well, write your congressman. No, wait.
Right, your diet representative?
I guess so, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know enough about Japanese government to actually speak with authority on that. But
your local alderman.
Yes.
Give him an earful.
So let's move on to something a little bit more pleasant, shall we? Itadakimasu with Usagi. What did Usagi eat in this episode? So Usagi starts eating her bento during the English lesson, which is a no-no.
Yeah.
Her bento includes ebi fry or fried shrimp, which we've talked about in a previous episode, some sort of fried fish fillet, white rice, sliced Japanese sweet potatoes, or satsu mayamo, a carved radish for garnish because it looks like a rose or a flower or a tulip or something, and then other veggies for garnish. So villain gauge, we rate a baddie 1 to 5 dark stars, 5 being the most wicked. There are 2 Cardians for this episode. The first one is not named, however, but I will describe her character design, which we do see on a card. We don't see it in like her actually being, because they just toast her right away. But,
right.
So her character design, she has light blue skin, bright orange hair that is shaped into a crescent moon that it's on its curved side, and pointy ears. And she's got a pink unitard with a pink skirt that has slits all the way up her legs, a black belt, and large light green shoulder armor. She also has gloves and shoes that are essentially just light green ribbon lace in a crisscross pattern.
Yeah, there's a heavy moon theme.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. She's got a crescent moon in back of her card, too.
And there's a real, I guess maybe like a Greek thing kind of going on, or just sort of
with a lace-up.
Yeah, the lace-up shoes, and also the belted, whatever you want to call it, tunic.
Sure. We'll go with that. Do we want to say what kind of tarot she might be, or is that too much? Because we barely see her. I have no idea.
I mean, what could it possibly be? It's again, we've exhausted that.
I feel like we have. Let's move on.
The moon.
Yeah, I don't know, right?
I don't know.
So the main baddie in this is a Cardian by the name of Amanju, who Cal is a huge fan of. So Amanju's name is a reference to the Amanjaku, or, quote, heavenly evil spirit, which is a demon-like creature in Japanese folklore. Amanjaku is made up of 3 different kanji. Ama is heaven. Remember Amaterasu? Same character. Ja is wicked, injustice, or evil. And ku is a different pronunciation of ki, which is the kanji for oni, demon, devil, or ogre. Amanjaku is typically portrayed as a kind of or type of small oni, which is a demon-like spirit. And they are a type of yokai. They are able to elicit a person's darkest impulses and therefore incite them to do nefarious deeds.
Ooh.
Yeah. The Amanjaku,
or just go totally crazy.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit. The Amanjaku is frequently thought to be derived from Amanozako, an evil kami in Shinto, which shares the Amanjaku's contrary nature and ability to see into a person's heart. And it's a very perverted demon. Her name means, quote, heaven opposing everything, and quote, Tengu Kami. And she is a monstrous kami who originated when Susanoo let his own vicious spirit build up inside him until he spewed her out.
Oh, he's always doing stuff like that.
Yeah. So she's like the worst of Susanoo, if you can imagine that.
After that, was he like really nice, but like not as powerful?
That would have been great.
He's like, I gotta swallow her again.
I know, right? Where'd she go? And then she's like, you're not swallowing me, because she's contrary. Amanjaku has also entered Buddhist thought and is thought of as an adversary of Buddhist teachings, kind of in general. It is frequently depicted as being trampled on and crushed into righteousness by one of the Shitennō, or 4 heavenly gods. These again are the Buddhist gods that the 4 kings of the Dark Kingdom are a reference to. So one of the Shitennō named Bishamonten, also known as Tamonten, his armor is also decorated with fiendish faces, which are thought to be Amanjaku as well. So,
crushed into righteousness would be a good tagline for your wine brand, you know?
I like
wine,
that.
Crushed into righteousness.
That's fantastic.
And aged for years.
And then there's a picture of a Shitennō on top of crushing Amanjaku.
There's faces on her card, isn't there? She's like,
yes.
There's like 2. Well,
there's 2 different like kind of oni looking creatures, and I think it's just a reference to oni because one's red and one's blue, and oni, at least in Japanese folklore, are traditionally depicted as being red or blue.
Okay,
so I think that's what they're
Is
doing.
That hot or cold?
Yeah, right.
Or like
I don't know,
cherry or blue raspberry. Yeah.
Not exactly sure why those colors were picked. But
It's a fascinating too, just the name Aman, because there's the whole theory of like, the Indo-European root languages that became the languages for like most of Europe and Asia continents. Yeah. And that word means a lot of things in other different languages too. Like it means trust in Arabic.
Okay.
Tolkien used the word Aman for his heaven, the Undying Lands, in his Lord of the Rings legendarium.
That's very close to Ama.
And he didn't choose that because he was a big anime fan. He chose that because he was trying to, he was a linguist and he knew a lot of languages.
Right.
He created a lot of languages, but he was using that as like a bit more basic sort of root word because all of Lord of the Rings is supposed to take place in our past, thousands of years in the past of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so the languages would be more basic, and be able to, you'd see how they would branch out into our modern languages in a lot of cases. And so, yeah, that's it's interesting.
That is really interesting that the language could have some similarities, even though it's, developed continents apart. Well,
no, they all came from.
Oh, right. Sorry.
From the Indus River Valley or whatever the sort of theory is.
It should be mentioned that Amanjaku is also a term used in present day Japanese to describe an unpleasant individual.
Just somebody who's
this is kind of colloquial.
This is not my kind of guy.
Yeah. Someone is being an Amanjaku if they are intentionally being contrary or do the opposite of what you ask on purpose.
I know what that is.
What is that?
Amanju.
Yeah. Exactly. This is the part of the Amanjaku. So this is not the folklore creature. This is just what it has come to mean in colloquial Japanese today.
See, now that I've found a little wrinkle here because Ale and An sure like absorbing the Brothers Grimm myths or whatever, or Aesop's fables or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But they have a creature called Amanju who won't do what they say. If they just read up on their Japanese myths, they'd be like, wait a minute. Let's not pick this one. It's not going to do. It's going to try to get in through a crack in the window.
Yeah, right.
And then wear your skin. Why isn't this thing doing what I'm telling you? Oh, of course. This is not my kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Like, why did they pick this one? But I guess this is one that they missed for whatever reason.
He's picked them before, but he always kind of does like Lady's Choice and then lets her pick the card. But she doesn't get to this time, so he's like, I'll just pick one.
Do you think that's why it's a bad one? Because she doesn't pick?
Maybe.
And
I mean,
she's
they could have put
telepathic or something.
No, I don't think it goes that deep. They could have put Amanju anywhere, but they are not vibing. They are not a team.
Yeah.
Just like the sailors are not a team in this episode.
Yeah.
And so both teams sort of suffer because of that.
That's true.
And then once Sailor Moon gets back with the girls, then she can, and of course the Moonlight Knight shows up.
Yeah,
they can put this one to bed.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I do want to mention, too, it is a term that parents often utilize to describe their children when they deliberately don't do as they are asked or told. So, as a side note on Oni in general, according to Chinese Taoism and esoteric Amanyodo, which is the way of yin and yang, the northeasterly direction is called the Kimon. Kimon, which translates as demon gate. And it is thought of as an unlucky direction through which evil spirits traveled.
In Ninja Scroll, the bad guys are the 8 devils of Kimon.
Okay. Yep, that's where they got it from. Devil's Gate. So based on the designation of the 12 zodiac animals in Chinese or Eastern astrology to the cardinal directions, the Kimon was also known as the Ushitora or ox tiger direction. One hypothesis is that, and this is where the ox and the tiger are located in the zodiac wheel. Okay. Is in the northeast is part of the wheel. One hypothesis is that the Oni's cow-like horns and tiger skin loincloth and Oni are often depicted as wearing tiger skin loincloths. Yeah. That evolved as a visual illustration of this word.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then she's got a little false butt.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
It's like what is it? It's like a little balls. It's like a bow or something.
It looks like giant pom-poms. Yeah. She has like these giant pink pom-poms, and then there are these tiny little extensions that curve out from that and then have small pom-poms on them.
double pom-pom.
Yeah.
She got double pom-pom.
Yeah, she got double pom-pom.
Girl got that double pom-pom.
Although I really like the meaning behind her name, I think that Amanju is kind of all over the place. I think that the character was developed with more of the colloquial meaning of Amanjaku, someone than the folklore creature who could bring out people's darkest impulses and get them to act on them. I do want to say that, though, that yes, Ale wants her to kill Mamoru, so he has less competition for Usagi, but that's about it. When Anne has similar thoughts about killing Usagi, Amanju has not even arrived yet. Amanju also has no influence like this over the Senshi whatsoever, and I think that could have really added something to this. So I'm going to give her 3 out of 5 dark stars.
This is a 5. It might have been a 4, but then you explained how her seeming kludge of a design, which might have knocked a point off, really is deeply tied to Japanese folklore. And, so, you can be a little over literal. I hate it when you watch a movie and you go, what was that? And you go, no, you got to watch the hour-long interview with the author where he explains everything.
Right.
It's like, all right, well, then maybe you worked a little too hard. But that was quick and easy, and it's something you can get from our show. And it makes me appreciate it so much more. Yeah, I don't need no Yoma has ever been like, I'm going to make you be bad.
All right.
That hasn't happened really yet with our monsters, and that's fine. I don't care about that. I love her oppositional defiant disorder.
Yeah, I know, right?
I also love how when they're all trying to just incinerate her at the end, she's just dodging and she's got a huge smile on her face. She loves her work, and much like she just seems really powerful. I don't know if like the cards have suits and like we're getting near the face cards or something, but she seems real tough to the point where, and I know we're just kind of wrapping the episode up, but where Luna's like, we got to get Sailor Moon in here. I'm worried about these girls. Mm-hmm. Like she's wiping the floor with these girls.
Right.
So yeah, she's strong. She's a free spirit. She loves her work. You can't tell her what to do. She can fry up the bacon, bring it home in a pan. I'm giving her 5 stars.
All right. Sometimes I wish that I could see these Yoma through your eyes.
I hope we're not moving on because there's one Yoma we haven't given a rating to.
Oh, we have to give a rating to our
mysterious
other guy. Yeah.
Cardian.
Yes. I'm going to give her a 2 because we didn't see anything. I liked her design.
I like her design too.
But that's what the points are for.
But it's a cool design, but you're right. We don't know anything about her. So I'll give her a 2 as well. But I wanted to make sure that we didn't miss
rate
her. And you know, Sailor Moon Wiki lists her as the only unnamed Yoma, but I guess...
Only unnamed Cardian.
Oh, Cardian.
Yeah.
It says Yoma. They need to edit it because it says Yoma on the page.
Oh.
Which, of course...
Now I'm wondering if that's true.
Which of course leaves the London Yoma out, which we can never do that.
No, you're right.
It will stab you.
Also unnamed.
The only Yoma with a weapon that is just a knife.
Who holds a child at knife point? I know. It's like, wow.
Yeah, why don't these Yoma come with like a gun? just shoot you.
Well, because like lots of times like they're
prism.
Well, like lots of times, like their
My only
arms
weakness,
are weapons
bullets.
or something. Yeah, right.
Yeah, 5, baby.
All right.
Keep going.
All right. So now we're up to our rating. I like how Usagi and An are both low on energy in their own way, and An basically flat out says that she's an alien. I really like that the Senshi decide to go to a movie, and that Venus zips Luna and Artie in her bag when Luna starts protesting. I like how Anne keeps trying to steal Usagi's energy, but Usagi accidentally thwarts her. But that's about it. This is definitely a filler episode in my opinion, so I'm going to give it 2 out of 5 roses.
2 out of 5.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
5 roses.
Really?
I don't know. I've been asking for something different, something new, something special. All
right.
Maybe it's because took a little break and we're hitting the ground running again, but this is definitely when it opened at the end of an episode that we'll never see, I guess. 56A. I was a little worried. But then we questioned every assumption that we had about what the show's been so far. We planted seeds for the future, and we brought out a Yoma that couldn't even be bothered to keep doing whatever this was.
Yeah, that's
true. Went searching for a new horizon and new futures, and I have to love it somewhat for that. Was continually entertained for the entire time. Screw those ducks. 5 roses.
All right. Okay. Again, I wish sometimes that I could see it through your eyes. My English title is Usagi's Punishment: Studying the Enemy.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Had a tough time with this one.
I did too.
But I think I'll go with Be Cruel to Your School.
I mean, that's pretty good because, like, when you think about it, like, Haruna Sensei sets up a potentially dangerous situation.
These kids are oppressed, and the teachers are completely absent. They're not even there.
Yes,
and it's about antisocial behavior and acting out.
Right.
And I couldn't fit anything into a Pink Floyd title. Another chick in the wall is the most that I came up with.
Okay, all right, yeah, I see your point there.
So I went Beach Boys instead.
Okay, all right. I think that's the way to go. Next episode, we are talking about episode number 58. Surechi gao ai no kokoro, ikari no makaiju in Japanese. Disconnecting Love, The Raging Makai Tree, the English translation, and the English title, Secret Garden. Yeah.
Okay. Some developments. This was a tough day. Japan took some hits. Tough day for Japan on this one.
Let's try. Hopefully
it'll be something a little
more
fun
positive.
The next episode.
Yeah, right. Let's hope that it's something way more positive for next episode, because I think we all could use that.
How do you think the date went?
Well, they almost get attacked in a park by,
oh, thank God, we're alive.
Partying.
I thought, we're not ducks, but we could have been in danger.
Yeah, we could have been ducks.
Whew, wasn't that funny? I don't want to see you again.
I can see that happening, actually. I associate you with those ducks. I don't want to see you again. Well, that's our show for this week. In the Name of the Moon, we'll be punishing you next week with another episode of Sailor Noob.
I associate you with those ducks.